The sharp snap of the scissors echoed through the salon, blending with the hum of the hairdryer. "You're going to love this cut," Adoko said with a sly smile, her gold bangles jingling as she worked. She was the best hairdresser in town, or so her customers thought. Nobody knew the secret behind her success, not yet, anyway. "My name is Omar. And I was there to witness it all. I worked as Adeko's house help for years, long enough to notice that something wasn't right. It started subtly at first. Adeko's clients would rave about her skills, saying they felt lighter and freer, as if a weight had been lifted along with their hair. But some began to whisper of strange misfortunes after their visits. There was Mrs. Mayowa, who lost her prize brooch the day after her appointment, and swore she heard faint laughter when searching for it. Fubera, a local teacher, collapsed from exhaustion a week after getting a trim, claiming his dreams had been invaded by shadows that stole his breath. And then there was little Amanda, sweet, bubbly Amanda, whose radiant energy dimmed. She began drawing horrifying symbols on her walls, insisting they came to her in dreams. Uju, a longtime client and widow, began to notice these coincidences piling up. Her own experience had left her unsettled. After a routine haircut, she found herself plagued by restless nights. In her dreams, she wandered through dense woods, hearing whispers calling her name. Then, one afternoon, she stumbled upon a patch of her garden where the flowers had inexplicably wilted. Nearby, she found a tuft of hair bound with string, half buried in the soil. She felt a chill run down her spine. What was it doing there? Could it be connected to her recent visit to the salon? One peculiar rule at Adeko's salon further fueled suspicion. She insisted that no one leave with their cut hair. "It's unsanitary," she would say, her tone firm, but clients found it odd. "I'll dispose of it properly," she added, gathering the hair in velvet pouches. Some whispered that it was a fetishistic practice, but most shrugged it off as eccentricity. Uju tried to dismiss it, but the incidents kept piling up. At a charity event, she overheard whispers about Adeko's uncanny rise. "Do you remember when her salon was empty?" one woman said. "Now she's booked weeks in advance. It's almost unnatural." Another time, Uju ran into an old friend, Anna, who had stopped visiting Adeko after her husband's mysterious accident. "It's as if something cursed him," Anna confided. "I don't know why, but I keep thinking of that salon." Meanwhile, rumors about Ikuku, the elusive voodoo priest in the woods, continued to swirl. Some said he was a man of great power, capable of granting anything but at a terrible cost. Others claimed he was a demon feeding off the soul of those desperate enough to seek his help. There were tales of people who went to him for favors but disappeared soon after, their names only spoken in fearful whispers. One story told of a farmer who sought after Ikuku to save his failing crops. The harvest that year was bountiful, but the farmer's health deteriorated rapidly. He aged decades in a matter of months, and when he finally passed, his body was found marked with strange symbols. Another spoke of a woman who wished for her unfaithful husband to be punished. He fell ill and died, but she was found hanging in her bedroom a week later, her face frozen in a look of terror. Then, there were the missing children. It began with little Timmy from the bakery. He was last seen playing near the woods. Then Sarah, the blacksmith's daughter, vanished while running errands. The town was in an uproar, organizing searches and vigils, but the children were never found. Uju couldn't shake the feeling that the timing was too coincidental, especially when she noticed Adeko's inexplicable nervousness whenever the topic came up. Uju found herself lingering at the edge of the woods, staring into the dark abyss. The stories about Ikuku played in her mind. Did she strike a deal with him? Was that why her fortunes had changed so drastically? She wondered. You must be wondering the same thing, so let's dive into what Ediku's life was like before the fame. Ediku's salon wasn't always the bustling hub of beauty and gossip that it became. In her early days, it struggled to attract customers. The rent was overdue, creditors loomed, and she faced ridicule from other salon owners. The weight of failure was crushing. Ediku was known to spend her evenings sitting alone, staring at her meager income, wondering how long she could survive in the competitive market. Her desperation deepened when her biggest rival, Chidima, opened a luxurious salon nearby, stealing her few loyal clients. Ediku's bitterness wasn't just directed at her competitors. Her family's disdain haunted her. Born into a household of overachievers, Ediku was often belittled for pursuing what they called a frivolous trade. Her elder sister, Amara, once mocked her in front of relatives, saying, "While I'm signing deals with foreign investors, you're signing people up for braids." That humiliation lit a fire in her, a need to prove herself and rise above everyone who ever doubted her. The final push came when her ex-fiancé left her for another woman, claiming she lacked ambition. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was a wound to her pride, and the feeling of being invisible in a town where success defined respect. She vowed to become so successful that everyone who ever doubted her would be forced to eat their words. One fateful night, as Ediku wandered the market aimlessly, she overheard a conversation about Ikuku, the voodoo priest. "They say he can grant unimaginable success, but the cost is steep," an old vendor whispered. At first, she dismissed the idea as superstition. But as the days passed and her desperation grew, the thought consumed her. Finally, she ventured into the woods to find him. The journey was treacherous, but her anger and ambition pushed her forward. When she reached Ikuku's lair, the sight of him, his glowing eyes and the oppressive aura of his presence, nearly made her turn back. But Ikuku's voice was like honey laced with poison. "What do you desire?" he asked. "I want success," Ediku replied, her voice trembling. "I want to be the best. I want them to regret doubting me." Ikuku smiled, a sinister curve of satisfaction. "I can give you what you seek. But it requires sacrifice." The terms of the deal were simple but dark. Ediku would offer the hair of her clients to Ikuku, who would use it to bind their vitality to her success. The more hair she provided, the more prosperous her salon would become. "Wealth and power will flow to you," he said. "But stray from our pact, and all you cherish will turn to ash." Ediku hesitated, but only for a moment. In that forest clearing, consumed by her desperation and thirst for revenge, she agreed. The promise of success and vindication blinded her to the looming consequences. Ikuku, the enigmatic voodoo priest, thrives on the energy extracted through the dark rituals. Each tuft of hair or fragment of a soul offered to him is a source of vitality. The rituals bind the life force of his victims to him, allowing him to extend his own existence unnaturally. His agelessness, glowing eyes, and the ominous aura surrounding him are manifestations of the power he has accumulated over decades, if not centuries. Ediku's actions began to betray her when Uju spotted her purchasing an assortment of red ribbons from the market. "I used them to bundle supplies," Ediku explained with a forced laugh. But Uju noticed the tremor in her hands and the nervous glance she cast toward the woods. Then there were the Friday deliveries. Ediku would arrive home late, carrying the infamous bag. "Just some supplies for the salon," she would say if questioned, her tone casual but her posture tense. Once, Uju spotted Ediku leaving the house late at night, the bag slung over her shoulder, her face partially obscured by a hood. She followed at a distance but lost her in the thick trees. Determined to uncover the truth, Uju started investigating secretly. While these doubts simmered, my suspicions grew as well. Ediku's charm masked these growing concerns, but the house felt darker, heavier. Late at night, I heard murmurs, not quite voices, but unsettling sounds that seemed to come from her secret room. Yes, she had a room where no one else was allowed in, no matter how much cleaning the house needed. That was where she kept the bags before taking it out in the middle of the night. I started waking up with scratches on my arms, as if invisible claws had marked me in my sleep. One morning, I found strands of hair, long, black, and unmistakably not mine, scattered near my bed. That evening, curiosity got the better of me. I lingered outside the room as Ediku locked the door, pressing my ear against the wood, but heard nothing aside the faint clinking of what sounded like glass jars. When Ediku caught me snooping, her cold smile sent shivers down my spine. "Stick to your duties, Oma," her voice etched with warning. Late at night, I would hear the door creak as Ediku sneaked out. By morning, the mysterious bag would be gone. I convinced myself it wasn't my business, but then things started happening to me. The air in the house felt strange. My dreams were filled with whispers, unintelligible but haunting. One night, I stayed awake, waiting for the familiar creak of the door. Sure enough, just past midnight, Ediku emerged carrying the mysterious bag. She moved hurriedly, slipping through the back door into the cold, moonless night. I followed her, my heart pounding like they would jump right out of my chest. The wood was eerily silent, the air filled with scent of damp earth. I kept my distance, careful not to make a sound. After what felt like hours, we reached a clearing where a crumbling shack stood. Through a crack in the wooden planks, I saw him. Ikuku. He was exactly like the rumors described. Eyes like burning coals, his voice like the rustling of dead leaves. Ediku handed him the bag and he opened it, revealing bundles of hair tied with ribbon. "You've done well," he said. "The wealth you seek will continue to flow," he added with a wicked grin. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The hair of Ediku's clients was being used for dark rituals. My foot snapped a twig, and the sound echoed like thunder in the quiet night. Ediku's head turned at me, her eyes widened with fury and fear. "Oma," she hissed, "you shouldn't be here." Before I could run, Ikuku's gaze locked on me. His smile faded, replaced with something far more sinister. "She knows too much," Ediku pleaded, but he shook his head. "The deal must be protected," he said. The last thing I remembered were his hands reaching out, a swirl of smoke enveloping me. When I woke up, I was in my bed, but weeks had passed. My body was weak, my legs limp, and my dreams haunted, which made it difficult for me to sleep. Ediku's indifference spoke volumes. Without a word, she arranged for me to be sent back to my village. That was the last anyone in town heard of me. Every night, my dreams are haunted by whispers, shadowy figures, and memories of what I saw. These nightmares make sleep an ordeal, leaving me perpetually exhausted. The curse drove a wedge between I and my community. My warnings about Ediku were dismissed as the ramblings of someone who had lost her mind. Even my family began to distance themselves, fearful of the aura of misfortune around me. Meanwhile, in town, after I was sent away, Ediku, eager to protect her secret, began to spread lies that I was dismissed for theft and insubordination. My silence and departure left a vacuum that others began to fill with rumors and speculations. Uju, emboldened by the mystery, took to investigating Ediku's activities more aggressively. She began discreetly questioning other clients. Many were reluctant to talk, their fear intense. "It's probably nothing," they would say, their voices shaky. But Uju could see it in their eyes. They knew something was wrong. One day, she overheard a heated argument in the salon. A client was furious, accusing Ediku of bringing bad luck. "Ever since I came here, my life has fallen apart," the woman shouted. Ediku's usually sweet demeanor cracked. "I just cut hair," she snapped. "If your life is falling apart, that's not my fault." One stormy evening, Uju ventured into the woods, following the faint trail Ediku often took. There, in the clearing, she found remnants of a ritual, a burned circle surrounded by tufts of hair, bound with red ribbons. But there was more. Scattered among the ashes were small charred toys, a doll's head, and a wooden horse. The sight confirmed her worst fears. Uju's discovery spread like wildfire. The townsfolk grew wary of Ediku, avoiding her salon. Because of this, she had little to no customers, which meant less and less hair till she was no longer able to get any more hair. A particularly dark evening, Uju confronted Ediku publicly. The storm raged outside as she burst into the salon, holding one of the velvet pouches she had found in the woods. "You sold us out for your greed," she screamed. "What have you done?" As Uju's words rang out, the lights flickered and went out. The room grew oppressively silent, and then a deep, menacing voice echoed. "The debt is due, Ediku," it growled. Ikuku appeared, his form shifting like smoke, his eyes burning coals. "You thought you could use my power without consequence." Ediku fell to her knees, begging for mercy, but it was too late. Ikuku's laugh echoed as the room plunged into darkness. When the lights returned, Ediku was gone, and the salon stood completely empty. The townsfolk avoided the salon from that day forward. Some say they hear whispers when they pass by, like the snap of scissors and Ediku's voice pleading for forgiveness. But the tale didn't end there. With Ediku gone, the disappearances of children briefly stopped, but unease lingered. Weeks later, a group of hunters stumbled upon a hidden cave deep in the woods. Inside, they found an altar marked with symbols matching those Amanda had drawn on her walls. Surrounding it were faded drawings of children, their faces accurate depictions of the missing ones. At the center of the altar lay more tufts of hair bound with red ribbons and small, decayed trinkets, remnants of the children's belongings. The hunters alerted the townsfolk, who swarmed the cave in horror. One of the villagers, an elder, recognized the markings. "This is a soul-binding ritual," he said gravely. "She must have been trying to use the children's vitality to sustain the power Ikuku gave her." As more details emerged, the extent of Ediku's desperation became clear. Ikuku's deals are never one-sided. Every pact he makes ties a mortal to him through an invisible thread of obligation and fear. In Ediku's case, her success spread his influence far and wide. The hair she brought him served as a bridge between her clients and Ikuku, subtly entwining their lives with his. This growing network amplified his control over the town, allowing him to feed not just on individual souls but on the collective fear and despair of the community. When the villagers stopped visiting her salon, she had turned to a darker source of power. Luring the children with sweet and kind words, she delivered them to Ikuku, hoping to maintain her wealth and influence. The discovery enraged the town, but it was too late to save the children. The villagers burned the cave, and the town's spiritual leaders organized purification ceremonies to cleanse the land of Ikuku's lingering presence. Incense are lit in the woods where his influence was strongest, and prayers are offered to the ancestors for protection and healing. Despite the cleansing ritual, strange things continued to occur. At night, some claimed to hear faint laughter echoing from the woods. Others saw flickering lights deep among the trees, as if the spirits of the children were still trapped, unable to move on. Some also reported seeing strange figures in their dreams. In the weeks that followed, the town tried to move on, but the shadow of Adiku's actions lingered. Her salon, once a bustling hub, remains abandoned, a chilling reminder of the darkness she brought to the community. Some suggest tearing it down, while others argue it should stand as a warning to future generations. Adiku's salon had been a significant part of the town's economy, drawing clients from nearby areas. After her downfall, the town struggles to regain its reputation. New businesses face challenges due to the town's dark history, as outsiders remain hesitant to visit. People spoke in hushed tones about the hairdresser's curse, a cautionary tale of greed and dark deals, serving as a reminder that success earned through harm to others will always carry a heavy price. And as for me, I live in silence, my body broken, but my mind haunted by the secrets I uncovered. Some truths are better left buried, but they have a way of clawing their way back to the surface. If you enjoyed this story, you might want to watch this too. It's about a young girl who was sold by her brother into slavery. What do you think happened to Adiku? Have you ever visited a salon with uncanny rules? Comment your thoughts down below and please, like and subscribe.